Wagyu Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Gurinder Singh. This is the fourth episode in the JMC Chronicles series. Um, if you haven't listened to the other three, they are in our IG, and they're also on our SoundCloud account. And newly to us, and our new platform that we're going to be using is YouTube. This podcast will be going up on YouTube with alongside all the other three. So if you want, it's the same. The name for the YouTube channel is the JMC Chronicles. So if you want to go look on YouTube and watch the video version there, it will be posted there. So today I have two amazing guests with me today. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about like how student government and how student politics, how to get involved, how and then hear what your guys' experience is. So one of our guests today is Sumrit. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sumrit. I'm a senior at UC Berkeley studying society and environment. And yeah, that's me.
And then the other guest, Mehnaz.
Thanks, Grinder. Hi, everyone. I'm Mehnaz. I'm a second year studying political science and public policy. My pronouns are she, her, and I am from Sacramento or from Elk Grove, California.
Yup, Sacramento. So, like I said, like student government, I've always thought like I don't have like great insight into student government. That's why I want to today sit back a little bit and learn as well as have the conversation about it. Um, for me, like I was involved in student government back in like high school, but like that's still like that doesn't really count that much. But I would love to hear like because I know some you have actually you were just not involved, but you were actually part of it, and you were like a senator there at Berkeley. Do you? I just want to know like what like how involved were you in that process, and like how did you get started in that process?
Okay, so my story of getting involved, like our student government is called ASUC. And so my involvement, it was basically none my freshman and sophomore year. I always knew that it existed, and I knew that there was one senator who represented Jakara because I was a part of Jakara. And so there's a slating process in order to be endorsed by the Middle Eastern Muslim Sikh South Asian Coalition. And they already had slated a candidate my sophomore year. However, that candidate dropped out. And I was like, okay, like there's never been a Sikh MEMSA candidate, so why not run? And I had a lot of help from my peers and friends. And so, and then I got slated, and I knew nothing about the ASUC. I learned all about it while running for the seat. And so, yeah, that's how my journey at the ASUC began.
And I know you just touched on a little bit like you had a lot of help from your peers and stuff. And if I'm not wrong, Mehnaz, you were one of those people that were there and were there to support. And not only were you supporting, but you also were there helping out as much as you could. Could you like talk about like your side of like how you got involved and how you helped out?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about it. So in terms of supporting, I would hope that I provided some sort of like emotional support or something, probably like once the school year started. But Sumrit's campaign was actually when I was like a senior in high school, and I remember seeing it like on my social media and being like, oh shoot, like who's this Grewal at Berkeley? Like, what is she doing, But so basically for me, it was like the first week of freshman year. And this is also one of the things that sucks that isn't there because of COVID, obviously. But in like the main part of our campus on Sproul Plaza, usually what happens in like the beginning of each semester is all of the clubs and organizations and even like ACC offices will have like tables of just like advertising for their organization and handing out flyers and that sort of thing. And so I saw one for like the South Asian senator, right? And then I think I took a flyer home, and I don't know who told me. They were like, oh, there's like one like also like specifically for like the MEMSA community, which is like Middle Eastern, Muslim, Sikh, and South Asian. I was like, oh my God, no way. Like a designated space for like Sikhs on campus. And then someone told me, they're like, yeah, the senator is actually like Sumrit Grewal. I was like, what? I think I met her like, well, God, for a day or something, and I didn't really like know her, but I decided to join the office. I was honestly pretty intimidated. Like, I like look at my Snapchat memories from like the day of the interview. I was like really scared and stuff. And anyways, I joined the office, Sumrit's office, as like a first semester freshman. I was like holistic wellness project manager and just like getting an idea of how things work because it was like a brand new experience for me. Although I'd been very involved in like different things in high school, things look a lot different on the college level, right? And it was really cool. And, going on to second semester, some of my closest friends now are from that office and everything. And going forward, I then became campaign manager for Asim Yaya, who was Samrit's head of staff in the office. And then now I'm Asim's external head of staff. And next, actually, I'm the MEMSA endorsed ASUC candidate for next year, which is really cool. So I'll be running my campaign and stuff in the next couple months, which I haven't really like announced yet, but yeah.
So we got the exclusive here on the podcast.
Yeah, the exclusive scoop.
Well, I hope you win. I hope you. I have no doubt that you should win, but that's from me. But you touched about this a little bit about like having like being in that space, especially for Punjabi slash Sikhs, like is very like new to us. Like I know from I mean, you can even look at like local governments and to like national. There's not that much representation. Like there is now, as slowly as we get like on and on, there is starting to be somewhere, but like how crucial is that in like your guys' view, like to have like being that presence there at your guys' school and like being there and like just because like and now just to see an example like Simrit, you were the first and then now there was and then eventually like Mehnaz now also is going to be running after you, so like how important is that for you guys to see that like there you guys have started something that hopefully like carries on and is a representation for like for us Punjabi Sikh people at school campuses?
I think like it's so important, and since we've never had this opportunity or that space kind of to like have that representation, like especially as a senator, like especially my year, I could speak for myself that like as a representative of the Sikh community and as just like as a Sikh, I was very confused on what our needs were because we never talked about them. Like on our campus, we talked about grants and money, but like what are our needs? The Muslim community that I also represented had their needs kind of laid out, and they've always talked about them as a community, while we kind of never touched upon that. And so I think my year was a lot of like figuring out how to like, how to get the community together to bring out like issues where we need help, and how to use my platform in the ASUC to like help our community. And I think that's helped like Asim's office, who's the next senator, and then now Mehnaz is gonna know like everything. So
Yeah, definitely. So it's like you touched on it a little bit, like how it's like it's building upon it, and I just a little bit talked about it too. It's like building upon like you, even though like you said like your process of becoming a senator was very new to you, like you were learning as like the year went on, as the process was going on, which is like for someone to do that and like to stick with it, and at the end like you can see like looking back like you were able to do it all, and now you're like it's building upon, like that's something very special, like and I just want like Manaz, I know like so you've seen the process happen a couple of times now. Like for you, do you like how do you see the process? Is it gonna be it's gonna be a little bit different because now like Sumrit's been through it, now you've seen firsthand how like campaigning works and everything like that. Like for you coming up, like how much easier is it for you now that because somebody before you has gone through it a little bit and you've able to like see that experience for yourself?
So not gonna lie, like although it's a super scary experience, like it really is, and it's very intimidating to know that you're responsible for the needs of, like hundreds, if not like thousands of students on campus. It's also, I feel like it's a really big honor to be able to serve my community in this way. And not gonna lie, like it's very, very comforting to have people like Samrit and have to have people like Asim and so many other people I could name who have been so supportive of me throughout this process and who have like shown me how to kind of do this work in like the most compassionate and supportive way. And so, slowly I'm kind of like having my own autonomy with certain projects and that sort of thing. And it's definitely like a big learning curve, and it's a big thing to like not just be a leader in Asim's office or be working in Sumrit's office, but rather to take ownership of a lot of these projects on my own. But I have a really, really great support system and people to kind of lean on. And so that's like the most comforting thing. But I would definitely be lying if I said it wasn't very intimidating and it wasn't really scary, because a lot of these things like really, really are. And also, add in like the new twist of like COVID, how does campaigning online work? How do you make it successful? How do you build community online? How do all of these questions are also ones that have to be equipped to deal with. So
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody, even though you've seen like the other hand of like firsthand seeing how the process works, because everything's going to be online or everything is looking like it's going to be online, it's going to be a little bit more different. Especially, I mean, me and Samrit were talking a little bit about like it's like everything is like on Zoom online, and like with that, it's a whole new process almost. It feels like, even though like, you think you want to feel like you're there, but like you're just attending through a computer screen almost. And like for that, it's like it's a little going to be a little bit challenging. But I feel like once you get a hang of it, it really is going to be it's going to be a better experience. So I just want to talk, like you guys have talked about, like it's not only just Punjabi Sikh representation. I know some you said you represented the it was the Middle East community as well as the Sikh. And like how are you able to like balance those two things without, like, because I know at some point you can be able you it's easy to like lead into like one side, or like, especially if you are like Punjabi Sikh, it's like, but like how are you able to balance the both the things, and like how was that experience? Because I would feel like that is a little bit of a daunting experience, especially for somebody that's doing it for the first time, to balance not only your own community needs, which you've been through and you've seen, but to try to take on upon like another community and try to listen to their voices as well.
Yeah, so it was definitely like a different. I didn't expect what like had happened. I think for the Muslim community, I kind of had a blueprint of what I how I could serve that. How could I serve the Muslim community? While for the like my own community, I did not know where we were, where we stood, what we were doing, what I could do. And so I think sometimes that balance fell off, and it might seem like somebody would think that, oh, I serve the Sikh students more than I serve the other communities within like my coalition. However, like I think it was the other way around, where Sikh students felt that I was serving the Muslim community more than the Sikh community, and that's simply because like just of precedent. There's always been a Muslim senator, so they've always been working on like Muslim community like projects, which I continued and I started and I knew what could be done. Well, while again, like with the Sikh community, we had to have those conversations that never had happened before. And so yeah, that's how I balanced those two.
Yeah, I know, like I said, I preference that question, but like saying it's never easy to like try to balance two communities, especially two communities that have like that are always like trying to like get something. Like I know, I speaking from a Punjabi Sikh community as a person from, like, there's a lot of stuff that does not be not like said. Like I mean, one of the biggest issues like for us is like mental health. It's never brought up, so like not a lot of people talk about it, and it's like those things, like, okay, what can you do when you're in a place where you can help? What can you do for the community, or what can you do like to help in that aspect? And I feel like that's like you have to find that balance sometimes, and it comes to you, but it's also other sides are always going to say that, oh, you're favoring the other side. And I think finding that perfect balance is what's key, especially if you do like yourself, you represented like a large like two pretty large communities in my eyes. But like I said, so Manaz, I was gonna throw this next question to you. Like, so being of like Punjabi and Sikh, like how does I think you've gotten to the space a little bit now for a couple years. Like, how does like other people see like Punjabi Sikhs coming into, because I mean for them it's probably like seeing something new too. You can also talk about this because like you said, you were the first to like there's always been a Muslim senator. So like having like a Punjabi Sikh now come in there in that role, like how was the reception of like the other, like how did you feel welcome? Did you feel like you, I don't want to say belong, but like were you, when you were there, did you feel like everything was like it was open for you to be there?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about this a little bit, and I will say, take this with like a grain of salt because number one, like I haven't this whole year was online, so I feel like there maybe aren't as many opportunities for. Of course, there are opportunities for conflict, but maybe not in the same way that there would have been before. And secondly, like I haven't been in this role yet, but obviously have been in these spaces for a while and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think our MEMSA community represents so many different beautiful and diverse communities within this Middle Eastern Muslim Sikh and South Asian coalition. And so thus far I honestly have felt like very accepted and very welcomed and very heard and listened to, even sometimes in ways that I haven't within like spaces of only my own community, right? And so I think I've been very privileged and lucky to be surrounded by peers who like will listen to kind of the things that I have to say and, respect my opinions and my insights and that sort of thing and my leadership style without, just simply just looking at identity politics and thinking, oh, okay, because this representative isn't Muslim or this representative isn't, Armenian or Afghan, then then their opinion doesn't matter to us. I personally have not experienced anything like that thus far. And yeah, I think I've been very privileged to kind of know and feel like I belong within these spaces that I'm in. So
I I think for me, like being the first, like I wasn't the first Sikh to run for the MEMSA or endorsement, but being the first Sikh chosen, it was pretty hard because I was running against a candidate who identified as Muslim, who so it was kind of a battle of identities, it was kind of identity politics at the end of the day. And it was a harsh fight where we had to fight for MSA's endorsement. And that's a huge deal. And at the end of the day, like a Sikh like me, I got the endorsement. And so I I felt accepted, but at the same time, I felt like a stranger, and I also never wanted to step on the lines or step across the lines of the MEMSA community. I mean, sorry, the Muslim community or any other community that I didn't like wasn't isn't my identity. I feel like I didn't want to speak. I wanted to speak with them. I didn't want to speak for them, and so that was hard. But like, as for just in the ASUC and my fellow senators, everyone was very receptive and very proud that that I was the first MEMSA Sikh senator, and everybody was just very welcoming in that space.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping like that's something that we want to always hope for, especially going to like new spaces. There's always that fear of like not belonging because like I know that fear like myself. I mean that fear has come to me multiple times where I go somewhere and I like the always the back of my thought is like, oh, do I am I gonna be able to fit in there or am I gonna like? But like sometimes like standing out is actually better than fitting in at some places, and I feel like that's something that like you guys at Berkeley have been able to accomplish is like you guys' own like people, you guys are your guys' own community, and like you guys are proud of that, and you guys will be there to represent not only you but like other people alongside you guys, which is amazing. um I think like you just said, Samri, is like you want to speak with people instead of for people, because like when you're speaking for people, especially people that you maybe not like, especially if you don't know their story or if you don't know what they're actually going, and like you try to speak for them, so now you're interpreting like what they might be going through, and sometimes that's actually going backwards instead of like building together. um for somebody that's not a part, because I'm not a part of Berkeley. I'm from Davis. I go to Davis. So like for somebody that doesn't know how the Berkeley and like the ASUC works, like do you guys mind like going over like how what the system is, like how does that work and all that? Because I'm very intrigued to see like how it works a little bit myself.
Do you want?
I can go ahead and some read definitely add in. Okay. So basically, in terms of how like the student government is formatted, so there are 20 ASUC senators, and a lot of times these senators represent certain communities, right? And so usually every single year, like for over a decade, there's been a MEMSA senator, which is the Middle Eastern Muslim and Sikh and South Asian community senator. And the way that this senator is chosen is there is an event called MEMSA slating that occurs like a month or two before elections, or in Sumrit's case, like literally like a couple weeks, because of what she mentioned at the beginning of this podcast. But this event called slating is where like all 14 or 15 MEMSA organizations come together, and every candidate who wants to run to be the MEMSA endorsed candidate presents their platforms and they answer community questions. And then at the end of this event, every MEMSA organization votes on who they want the candidate to be. So like I mentioned earlier, this is a process that I already went to. So I already went through. So I have the privilege of running as the MEMSA endorsed ACC senator. So I still have to run my campaign and everything, right? And usually I think there's around like 40, 50, 60, like it depends every year, people running for basically 20 Senate spots. And there's senators for different communities, right? Like there's the Black community endorsed senator, there's the LGBTQ community endorsed senator. There's usually like a Jewish senator, there's a senator representing like the like Greek life communities. There's like, I remember there's like a chem senator representing people who like, studying chemistry and that sort of thing. And just like a host, the South Asians, right? Like just like a bunch of different identities. And some people are completely just running on platforms like mental health or, sexual health and violence or whatever they're passionate about really, or pre-law or pre-med. And people are running for these platforms, and then there's a campaign and everything. And then everyone's like going to be elected, I think, in like April. And then those 20 senators will be chosen. And then there's also the executive positions, which is the president, the EVP, which, Sumrit, what does that stand for?
Executive Vice President.
Duh, my bad. That was an obvious one. EAVP, which is External Affairs Vice President. Yes. Academic Affairs Vice President. And then the last one is
SAO.
SAO, student. I don't even know.
Student advocate.
Sumrit, you can explain the commissions and the appointed officials, and yeah.
Okay, and then there are appointed officials. So we have the CFO, Chief Financial Officer. We have the CLO, Chief Legal Officer, CTO, Chief Technology Officer, and more. And then there's commissions. I never know how to explain commissions. Mehnaz, I don't know if you want to.
It's just basically they're like tasked with certain, like there's like, I think there's a mental health commission. There is a mental health commission. And there's also like diversity and inclusion, I believe, like that's its own commission. And just for different tasks like that are like groups of students gathered together for like these purposes, right?
Yeah. And then and the ASUC is a nonprofit. So we're independent from the university and are completely running our own. We have a contract with the university on space and just money and everything and how our relationship works. Which Mehnaz will have to read when she gets elected. And also, and every single UC and every single, I think, school has a student government, and Davis actually has one called ASUCD. And the buses that run at Davis, at UC Davis, are actually run through ASUCD, like they're all student drivers. And so there's a lot of cool stuff that your student government does, and you vote. I remember that my cousin, she goes to UC Davis, and she told me that, she usually never votes in the ASUCD elections, but she did this time because they were seeing if they should keep the buses or not. And so you have these things on your ballot. You're not just electing, there's referendums on your ballot, and more stuff. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so that was one of the things I was actually like I was gonna ask about was like how does like the student body work in conjunction to the like, school, but I feel like you kind of just answered that, and it's kind of cool to, like to think that like so it's not actually like part of the it's like it works like side by side. It's like it's its own thing, but also it works in tensions of for in betterment of the school, and that's always I feel like that's a little bit better than being tied because like the school can almost if it was part of the school like it can almost like be a conflict because like the school is always going to try to override anything that's happened. It's like, has there any like for your time being there, Manaz, you can, is there been any time where like the school does not like agree with you guys or goes against you guys, or has it just been pretty smooth of like you guys usually work in congestion and everything works out smoothly between you guys?
Well, so we're a university of like thousands of students, right? And so everyone has a lot of different needs. And so understandably, there's conflict with the university all the time for lots of different things. I think the most recent thing that I can think of is, within COVID and everything, the university really did not want to have pass no pass this year. And so like the ASUC and a lot of students just led like a really strong campaign to basically have pass no pass for this whole entire school year. And through ever, their pressure and their methods and like, really strong and organized campaigning, we were able to get that. And so every student, maybe not every student actually, but I know like letters and science and like a lot of other colleges within our university are able to take major requirements pass and pass this year, which has been incredibly helpful in light of how stressful this year is with all these changing world circumstances. And so there's plenty of things that kind of go on, but yeah, I think that's also, Grinder, like you mentioned, I think that's something that's really great of having the ACC be a little bit separate. I think it gives us like the ability to kind of put student needs first and not have to worry about like pandering to the university or other things like that. So
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's always great to have like a representation about like, especially like it's a organized, it's not like it's just there. Sometimes like just having something there and it's like it just people going through the motions, but like it's organized, there's elections, there's campaigns running it. I feel like that's a little bit more engaging, and that way like the school actually acknowledges it and it'd be like, okay, this is actually something serious that we actually have to work with and have to listen to a little bit. And that's, I think that's amazing that you guys were able to do that. um I know some you said like, yeah, like each school has some type of like student body, but like for somebody that had, I mean, because you were kind of almost a little, I don't want to say forced into it, but it was like a last minute thing of like you said you were picked into the nominate. It's like, so for somebody that is thinking about maybe going into student government, is a poli sci major, it's like, what would you advise them now you going and learning the process, even though you did it on the fly? Like what is something like you would say to somebody, because like you said, like for Punjabi Six, like this space is kind of new, because like I can say myself, like representation has been very low for us at, even at like at our colleges itself. And so like for people that might be like, oh, I want to do it, but like there's never been anybody that came before me, so like it's a kind of like a little bit daunting. Like what's something that you would tell them, or like anything honestly from what you've seen through your process that would help anybody else?
Wow, I wish I had some wise words, but like honestly, like just do it is like because that's how I think I was very scared to go into space. I'm like, am I like, do I deserve this endorsement? And but I like a lot of my community members, a lot of my friends, again, like they really, made me confident. And I think having that support system is important as well, because I wouldn't have done it at all without anyone who was a part of that process. But like, if anything, if you don't even have anyone, like I want to be a part of that process to tell you that you can do it. Anyone can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And so, but it's a daunting place. Like, trust me, like I'm not gonna say it's an easy position. Student government looks like a light thing, but it's not. I've had many like days where I've just cried because of what happened in student government, and to this day I stress out about things that have happened and what's been said about me and stuff. But it's such a learning curve, and I think I've grown as a person here and there, but like I overall, like I've grown, even though I have had a lot of bad experiences in there. But I wouldn't be who I am today if it weren't for that position. And I like that position, though, like everything that came with that position. I'm not talking about the privileges that came with the position, but like just every single movement that happened. Like I wouldn't be this not confident, I guess, or stronger. Like, I don't know where I would be in life not having those experiences. I went on a tangent, but like that's just how I feel about that position.
No, I mean, I think that was it's your experience, right? I mean, nobody can take that away from you, good or bad. It's yours forever now, and the fact that you said like even from the bad, you were able to learn from it and grow as a person, which is like something I feel like a lot of people are scared of to be like, oh, if I do run and if they don't make it the first time around, they're gonna be like, oh, I did it, I failed, and it's like you're just gonna have like ponder that thought like, oh, I failed, and it's like I think that it's something that I've felt myself, even though I'm not into, but like I've always when I do fail, even if I do pass something or do something right, I only focus on like the bad, and it's like I feel like unless you acknowledge it and like you grow like you did, which is amazing, is like that's the only way to make your failures not feel like failures. And that's like even though you're able to admit that you did have bad times, it's not always the best. It's not going to be every day is going to be the best day in the world. It's like, but you were able to get through it, and which is the best. And I think that's something that you can take away from what you just said was like, and if even if you have bad days, just like the responsibilities are just as great as just as the privileges you might get. Like having that sense of responsibility and hold yourself to that is like amazing. And I feel like once you get into that space, it always comes. You're gonna feel a little bit better. It's always about getting there. I feel like running elections and doing campaigns is the most daunting part. I feel like, but Manaz, if you want, I know you've been in the space for a couple years now, and then you're gonna eventually run yourself. Um, Anything you want to say or add to like anybody out there that might be wanting to do it? Because some people might be not be able to get the ability to first be able to get into space, learn from other people, and then eventually do it themselves. And like for them, like, is there anything you would want to say or like just look out for or anything you want to say?
Yeah. I think there's can be a lot of things that kind of hold someone back from wanting to participate in student government, a lot of which are very valid, right? The politics of it, the responsibilities, and the time commitment and that sort of thing. But I do really, really believe that what happens on a college campus is a microcosm of what happens in the real world. And the things that we're doing are really important, right? And I truly think that if you're someone that cares about your community and you want to get involved and you want to see your peers have access to resources and be able to work on things that you're passionate about and make changes on your campus, I think student government can be a great way to do that. And I think it depends on how you get involved and where you get involved as well. But I do think that we'd be amiss to say that student government as a whole is just like this inefficient thing, because I do think that there are pockets of really great and beautiful work that happen. And I think I've been really lucky to be able to see some of it. And I honestly am really scared, like where I'm at right now and campaign and everything that's to come. But I think the thing that comforts me the most is that what I'm doing is important. And what I'm doing is I get to have a chance to serve my community and hopefully do these really great things that will create, a sense of institutional knowledge that will allow incoming MEMSA students and Sikh students to not only succeed on this campus, but to excel. And so if I can be one of the people starting that work, then I knew that I had to get involved.
Yeah, you like I'm almost like speechless after hearing that a little bit. Like that was so amazing because like
Sorry, I
Manaz,
want to make an edit to my last point.
no
Not
problem.
start the work, but continue the work, because I have so many great people before me who started it. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say like because like Manaz, I mean we've known each other for a little while now. And it's like I would I don't want to like it was like I remember us talking about I feel like it was like when we were coming back from Michigan or something, and you were talking about like what college you want to go to,
oh,
and you said
yeah.
you wanted to go to Cal Poly, and then to see like you ended up at like Berkeley, I was like, that's like it's kind of a little bit of a difference. So it was like
Yeah.
when I saw like you like that was I was like, dang, she went against what she was saying that she wanted to do. But like that's what I was gonna ask a little bit about. Like I know you touched on it a little bit, but like how are you like how did you first start into it? Like you were saying like it was a little bit scared when you first, but like how are you able to just start and like be able to reach out? And I mean you said you had met some at Nishan before, but like
Mm.
still like how are you able to get involved, and what were like the first couple steps that you did take to like wanting to be in that space?
Mm. Grinder, it's so funny that you bring that up. And like this is so full circle for me. I have a lot of growing to do, and like I'm only a second year and there's so much to come. But I think you've been here for like this is like a really kind of like a full circle moment because we've known each other since I was very first like involved in Jakara. I think I met you at like the very first Jakara I met that I went to was like a high schooler, right? And I think something that I really struggle with is kind of seeing myself as a leader and believing that I have these inherent skills and that I can excel and that I can do these great things. And so, even in terms of college and stuff, I just didn't believe that I could get in anywhere that I actually really, really wanted to go. Not that I didn't want to go to Cal Poly or anything like that. I think it's a beautiful school. But I'm trying to, just be more thankful and be more open-minded and just believe that, good things can come and that I deserve to be happy in all of these things. And moreover, I think coming to Cal has been like one of the greatest blessings in my life in the sense that I think it's really allowed me to like find my voice. I've always been social. I've always cared about things. I've always, been outspoken, but just kind of like in a different way in the sense that I've kind of found what motivates me and why I want to study the things that I want to study and how I want to see my community have its resources and excel. And so when I did something like joining Sumrit's office and doing that interview and that thing, I wasn't really like even aware of like what the implications of that would be. But I think I think the advice that I would give in terms of that is like be open to new opportunities and that sort of thing and be willing to be uncomfortable because not gonna lie, like the first couple of meetings with Sumrit and all of them, I was like, oh my God, like I don't like they're so cool and they're older and like I don't belong here, whatever. I didn't even think they were gonna accept me in the office. Seriously, I literally did not think that they were gonna accept me in the office. And so I guess what I would say in terms of that is be open to like new opportunities and stuff because you'll never know like the trajectory that they set you on and the people you'll meet along the way. And so yeah, I think it's a really beautiful thing. And yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing so much. I mean, I think my first event was my actual first time ever doing anything involved in Jakarta because like I think for like the first like for the longest time when I was first, because Jakarta, you can attest to this a little bit, was when it did come to when it came to Sacramento, it was like almost like a brand new thing to all of us. Like we didn't know what it was, and we were basically building clubs up at all our high schools, but we had no clue what we were doing. And I feel like that's a little bit of like a parallel of like or like a almost like the same thing of like how almost like how Samrit and your thing about like you had to learn as you went throughout like the year. Like we had to learn as we went through the year. Like we had honestly no clue what we were doing. Like we would rely on each other. Like you relied on your support on your peers. And I feel like these two stories of like how me and Samrit or how me and Mehnaz, how our Jakara first started is like very reminiscent of like how your first year was. But again, I preferenced this in the beginning a little bit was like when I first thought about this topic about student government and doing student bot was I thought of Berkeley because I mean I don't want to flex you guys flex enough you guys self, but I'll flex it a little bit for you guys too. It's like me when I was looking at like what colleges to go to, I always thought my always one thing was like I want to go somewhere that is also good for my major and stuff like that, but also is good for in terms of like a JMC and a Sikh Punjabi community because like that's where I feel like I fit in the most. And I was like that was one of the things that I every single time when I thought about that it was like Berkeley when I would see all you guys I'm like that's how you do it, like that's them, like it's like every single time I see anything like happening in Berkeley I'm like them folks are killing it out there. Like I know a little. I think it was a year or two ago now. I think it was when I was a freshman in college, I believe. it's like Balvinder like asked us to go to like an event that was happening at Berkeley, and like we went to an event in Berkeley from Sacramento. Like we did the 2 hour or like 2 hours there and the 2 hour like the same day just to go like do a like to attend an event, and the event was like amazing. And so like it's like I always whenever I think about JMC, like the first JMC that comes to my mind is like UC Berkeley. It's just because like how amazing you guys are. Again, I don't want to hype you guys up because I know you guys do that you guys selves already. And I know like we Davis folks, we keep our heads down a little bit out here because like we can't flex much other than cows and agriculture. So but I know Sumrit like talking a little bit. I know you're like your 4 year undergrad's coming to a close here a little bit, and last summer you got a very cool opportunity. Um, for those who don't know, Sumrit, did you spend the whole summer in DC or just part? So the whole summer in DC. Do you mind wanting to share about like how that experience was for you, and like how much did maybe being a senator the year before, like how much did that actually continue into actually wanting to go to DC or like going locally and wanting to be involved in politics outside of school?
Yeah, so I always wanted to go into public service since the beginning. Well, I was pre-med for a second, but that's because my parents forced me to. But inside my heart, I always really wanted to do public service. However, like after my Senate experience, after my internship experience, I don't know if I still want to. But not saying it's a bad experience. I mean, I don't know. But I think being around so many people who were kind of career oriented, like no offense, like like it was a lot of senators you see they were there for their communities, but also they were kind of like, it's not, they weren't there for also resume building, but that they wanted to go into public service and that's something that they had aspired to do. Well, I like never knew what the steps were to take, like being a first generation like Punjabi Sikh American and having no one that I know in public service. So like, or like, besides my connections in Jakara. So seeing everyone, I thought that I was like behind. Everyone already had done internships in DC. Like, is that the next step for me to, in order to be like this politician or whatever? And I didn't apply to like the fellowship programs or like the internship programs within my school just because I thought like I wouldn't get it. And I still do that to this day where like my confidence is, which I'm working on, where I don't apply to things because I think that I won't get in. And but I cold applied, I guess you could say. Like I emailed all of these Congress offices, and I got a total of 3 interviews, and I applied to like maybe like 5 or 6 offices, and so I got the opportunity to actually, they said go to DC during this pandemic, which was crazy. And I got to intern for Congressman TJ Cox, where and it was the first time where my major is society and environment, which is basically a mix of like social issues. It's like social issues times environment and the environment and like policy and stuff. And so I got to see that come alive while me writing memos for environmental policy or the new climate policies that were out there, and also working on immigration like memo, just like reading these laws and me debriefing the legislative aides on that. And so my Senate career, I guess, like allowed me to get this kind of like introspect into this world, which really helped. And I don't think I would have gone to DC if it weren't for Senate, not just because I was a senator, but because like of how much I learned by writing bills, what bills mean, what like because again, like Mehnaz said, like a student government is kind of, or like our campus is a microcosm of what's happening in the world. So I kind of got to mix those two together and see how both of them work kind of the same way, if that makes sense. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, I think you kind of, it's like experiences is always like you either are enjoying it or you're not gonna enjoy it. Like I feel like it's like finding out what you want to do. Like for me, it's like when I finally, I mean, I've conjured up different pathways for me and be like, all right, so this is my 4-year plan, this is my after school plan, this is my, and then like I always kept changing it, constantly kept changing it, because it was always like I would try something and I'm like, yeah, that's not for me, and then I would try it again. It's like until you find something that you're set on and you don't have to like question it. I feel like that's the thing, like that's gonna come to you, and instead of like, it's like you have to keep searching for it. It's like if you just go like your own path, eventually you might find it. But it's like I feel like you kind of talked about like how the experience helped you also, like in terms of the Saturday experience helped you there, but also that experience was a little bit not what you expected a little bit. But one thing I do want to ask you, which is a personal thing, and I know like I saw it, you did get a picture with the superstar herself, AOC, and like, can you describe how that whole like what you were going through, or is that like something that you've forgotten? I hope you have not forgotten that experience.
No, I will never forget that experience. That was my first. So I only got to work in the office in the physical space in the Capitol only for 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks. The rest was I was working from home in DC, and so that was my first day in the office. And Congressman TJ Cox, they were voting, and I asked, can I go to the floor where they go vote? And he was like, you can't go on there, but I'll take you, like, right in front of it where. And so he takes me with him, and you go, there's tunnels in there, so you're walking in the tunnels. I see I forgot his first name, Joe Kennedy the third, and I'm like, it's so surreal. Like, wow, I just saw Kennedy, And then, you're seeing all these congressmen, congresswomen walking by you, and then I went down. We went on the elevator, which is for congresswomen, congressmen only, representatives only, and then went down. And right when the elevators open, I wear glasses, but I wasn't wearing glasses that day, and I see the shape of like AOC, like that just looks like AOC, but she's so far that I can't tell if it's her or not. And so there was a ledge aide from our office with me, and I was like, is that who I think it is? And she was like, AOC, yeah, that's her. And then I was like, oh my God, like I freaked out. My legs started shaking. And Congressman TJ Cox was like, okay, like I'm a friend of hers, like I'll ask her for a picture, like if you can take a picture. And just the day before, I walked in front of her office, or no, I think maybe this was my second day. So the first day I walked in front of her office and took a picture of it. And Jot, who is a Jakara person too, he was like, if you meet her, like call me. And so what I did, I called him and I was like, dude, I'm standing right next to her, like what do I say? And so Joel prepped me. He's like, okay, say, you're a first generation like Punjabi American, and all this stuff. And so when Congressman Cox was like, hey, like I have this intern, she wants to take a picture with you. I was just like, I'm a first generation. Thank you. And I loved your story yesterday because she was fighting with this congressman for calling her a bitch. And so, it was so surreal. And I took a picture with her and I was like, thank you, you're amazing. And I think that's when, I realized like, wow, I'm in this space, and like, even though I was interning for this congressman who's from Fresno, California, like who cares in this world about Fresno? But I got to be in this space with such amazing women, and I really wanted to see Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, but like I couldn't. So, yeah, that was a surreal experience that I will forever, like, I don't know, honor for myself.
I mean, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I remember seeing the picture, so I was like, wow. Like I was, because it's just seeing from, because I've only seen the White House through my phone, through a computer screen. So like, and like seeing those people that are there, I've only seen them through a phone or a computer screen. I've never seen them in person. So I'm just be like, I don't know if I would be able to, like, I don't know what I would say, honestly. If I would see somebody, I'd just be like, hi. It's just like, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just a surreal moment, and I just had to ask you about that because I was like, that's super dope. But I think if there's anything else you guys might want to add or anything or talk about, I mean, this is the time to do it. I think we're winding towards the end a little bit here, but again, thank you so much for joining. I can't say this enough. You guys have both been amazing guests, and I think we obviously have met before. I know Sumrit and you and I have hung out at Nishan's past like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. We don't know why, but it was always been fun times when we do. I mean, shout out Jolt. I mean, you talked about him, love the guy, but yeah, I mean, in Mehnaz, we've known each other since the start of Jakara back here in Sacramento, and I feel like, I mean, Mehnaz sells herself short, but she had a nickname name. She was part of the EG4, the four people that basically were Elk Grove personified. So she sells herself a little bit short when she says that like she doesn't think she can be a leader. Trust me, you are a leader in my eyes and you inspire a lot of people. So I know I'm gassing you guys up right now, but it's just how it is, I guess. But again, if you guys have anything else to say at the end, this is the time. But other than that, I think I'm gonna wrap up here.
Just wanted to say, Grinder, thank you so much for bringing us on. It's been really cool to talk about this and everything. And moreover, we really, really appreciate you gassing JMC Berkeley earlier because, we know we're great. But JMC Davis is killing in game. JMC Davis is doing such amazing things. For example, this podcast, which I'll be going back and binge watching all the episodes after this. Yep. And you all are doing such amazing work. And it's just really great to be in community with JMC Davis as well. So thank you so much for bringing us on and asking us such thoughtful questions. And yeah, really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I probably can't say it better than Mehnaz, but thank you, Grinder. Like what y'all have done, JMC with JMC UCD, like it's completely transformed from my eyes, and so and it's for the better, and y'all have been killing it during COVID. I don't think any JMC has been killing it as much as y'all have, like with these chronicles, with some food, like everything. I'm up to date with that, but again, thank you for giving us this platform to talk about this. I think like hopefully this encourages people to go into student government or just public service at all, and I don't know, hopefully even though there's challenges, I think everyone should try, and because a lot of our community talks about being pre-med or pre-health or whatever, but we rarely talk about being pre-public service or pre-law or something. So yeah, thank you so much for giving us this platform.
Yeah, that was the whole point of this podcast when I first ever pitched it to any. I mean, a little bit backstory for this. I mean, I pitched this 2 years ago, and the fact that after 2 years it finally came to fruition is amazing for me. The fact that I get to sit here and learn so much about so many things for me personally it's been amazing. But like you said, like a lot of people, if it is like poli sci or like when kids do try to go, it's like usually parents usually force them, oh, you're gonna become a lawyer or something like that. It's like, but like public being a public servant, like other than being a lawyer, is also very important and very like key role to play in poli sci. It's not just only lawyers that exist in that field. So um, thank you so much for like to about talking about your experiences and giving a little bit insight about what you guys have done, what you guys have been through. And I can't again, I've gassed you up so much, and you guys have gassed me up now. And UCD, um, we've been trying our best to do everything that we can during these tough times. Even though we are on Zoom and everything like that, we are trying to make the best of it. So, with that being said, I think I'm gonna wrap up. Again, this is on our YouTube channel. If you are watching this right now on YouTube, hello. The other 3 episodes have been posted also here on our YouTube channel. But also these episodes can be found on our IG page at jmc.ucd and also on our SoundCloud for the non-video version, just audio version at the same as our IG handle at jmc.ucd. But other than that, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your guys' experiences and everything. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ